All right, everyone, we have a lot to get into today with Raid Shadow Legends, including some very important stuff, but I wanted to start off the video with an important warning about this portal animation that we have going on right now. So for those of you guys wondering, we do not have a ×2 event running right now. Normally this portal animation is for ×2 events for things like sacred shards. Normally the color orange is for sacred shards. We had blue for ancient shards and purple for void shards. I know they mixed it up before, but normally that's what this portal glow is for. However, right now we don't have any kind of ×2 event running. This is for a 10x chance for a specific legendary, and that specific legendary is going to be for Queen Eva. So very, very important for those of you guys who might be confused. I know it's very strange the way that Plarium has been handling this. Sometimes they turn on the portal animation, sometimes they don't. They've been mixing up the colors, but this time they turned on the portal animation. However, they turned it on for a 10x event and not a 2x rates event. So if you go to the actual info, you'll see it all here. Always check the actual rates, and you guys will see that if you go to ancient, voids, or sacreds, they are all still the normal rates right here. So 8% chance for epics from ancient and void shards, 0.5% chance for legendaries, and of course 94% chance for epics from sacred shards, and then a 6% chance for legendaries from sacred shards. So that is the standard rates right there. When a 2x event is running, you guys will see it at 16% for ancients and voids, and then 1% for legendaries, and you'll see sacred shards will be boosted up to a 12% chance for legendaries. So that is the event that we have going on right now. You'll actually see there is a post in the news section about a couple of new things. I'm going to get into the fusion in a second here because we do have a new fusion going on, but that's what this top banner is for. Boosted summoning rates, 10x chance to get Queen Eva. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, do I think it's worth it? I know I've talked about these events a lot before in the past, so I'm not really going to get too much into detail because you guys know how I generally feel about these events, and I would say a good amount of the community probably feels pretty similarly, but this one is no exception to that. Now, the void ones typically tend to be a little bit better because there's less void legendaries in the actual summoning pool, so the chances of you actually getting the legendary that you're looking for is higher. However, when it comes to the regular legendaries, the regular affinity based stuff, you know, spirit, force, and magic, because you have to pull ancient and sacred shards, and there's so many of those different legendaries that you're competing for, you have to pull an insane amount of ancient or sacred shards on average in order to end up getting the legendary, even that's boosted from the 10x event. So I'm not going to get into the actual details behind the math, but just so you guys know the numbers on the averages at what you are looking for. But if you do pull right now for Queen Eva, even with this 10x rate event going on right now, you're looking at taking an average of about 1,200 ancient shards in order to get her. Now, of course, you could get lucky. You could get her sooner. You could get really unlucky. You could pull thousands and still not get her, even with one of these events going on. But the average is about 1 in 1,200. Now, if you're pulling with sacred shards, you're still looking at an average of about 1 in 100 or so. Now, these are crazy numbers even for whales, so this is just another lesson that even with these events going on, the chances of you getting what you are looking for are all going to be based on RNG, and it really is just going to be how lucky or how unlucky you get. So that's going to be the wrap-up on that. Now, in terms of how good she is as a legendary as well, that's kind of another contributing factor to my opinions about this event. Now, she's definitely not a bad legendary at all. She's very, very good, but she's very good at one thing in particular, and that one thing is going to be campaign farming, and it's because of her I think it's her third skill right here. Attacks all enemies, decreases the turn meter by 20%, resets the cooldown on each of this champion's skills. If any target is killed, has an extra 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit. So she really focuses around this skill right here, and that's because when you are farming the campaign, first of all, this is an AoE, which is what you're looking for out of a campaign farmer because it's going to attack everything at once. But whenever something dies and when you get the proper gear and you build her up properly, you're definitely going to be killing stuff very quickly in, you know, brutal 12-3 or 12-6. She's going to reset the cooldown. That's going to allow her to use this ability again, which is another AoE. So she really does chain focus around this particular skill in general. Her other skills, she's got a heal reduction on her attack 1. She's got attacks one enemy 2 times, enemies killed cannot be revived on her second skill, and crit rate in all battles by 19%. But, you know, all of these things combined my opinion is, especially if you guys are limited on resources, you're either free to play, you don't spend a lot of money, or you're just looking to get the most efficiency out of your shards, wait for the ×2 events, because these ones can definitely be a bit of a trap. So all right, now let's move on to the actual fusion event that we have going on right now. So we do have a new fusion, and this is an interesting one. This is definitely a bit different than the other ones. Now, the actual timer on the fusion is still going to be the same. If you go to the fusion screen, you guys will see here we've got 2 weeks, 4 days, 8 hours. That might actually be a little bit longer than we normally have. I think the last one was around 2 weeks. We had one of them that was 10 days, but you know, in the general ballpark of about how long we have in order to fuse. But the really big thing that stands out about this fusion is it is actually possible to have all of the epic champions to fuse without having to participate in any of the events. So you'll see we've got Necro Hunter, which is one of the champions. We have Corpse Collector. We have Sue Firstborn. And we have Jingle Hunter. Now, I know Sue Firstborn, for some reason, she's been used in a lot of the fusions, but she has been around for a while, so if you somehow did save, you know, a spare copy of her or whatnot, maybe got really lucky and got another one of her recently from Void Shards, you could technically end up doing this entire fusion right now without actually having to participate in any of the events. However, there are still a bunch of events if you do decide to go down that road and if you don't have all the epics. So just like we usually have with the fusions, we've got a calendar that shows us the timeline of where to get all of the rare champions to fuse for the epics. And then, of course, the epics you'll end up fusing into the legendary. And the legendary for this fusion is going to be Killian the Lucky. Now, somebody corrected me in the comments the other day that my pronunciation, which you guys know is not my strong point, was off, and that it's Killian and not Cillian. So this is the new champion that they actually hinted at in the patch notes here that we didn't really know a whole lot about, which I was a little bit confused because they put in this new champion for St. Patrick's Day, then they didn't really put anything else. So I was wondering if this was going to be for a fusion or something else, and it turns out that it is indeed for a fusion. So if you take a look at the calendar, you guys will see here, very similar to a lot of the fusions that we've had. The events are all very similar. You know, we've got a champion training, tournaments, arena assault, dungeon divers. What else do we have here? Artifact enhancements, and summon rush, of course. So definitely keep an eye out if you guys do decide to actually go for this fusion. Very important to, first thing that I would do before you guys get into spending any resources, any energy, you really get into it, is go through the actual calendar and really, you know, kind of know what your game plan is going to be. Make sure that you're going to be able to get all the components to the fusion, because if you miss out even one, then unfortunately you're not going to be able to fuse him. So it's definitely worth the, you know, 15 minutes, half an hour, however long it takes to just really go through this. And however it works best for you, just kind of organize it and mark it down, because you know, it could be a disaster to go through. I know it's happened to many people that I know, to go through and then miss just one rare champion, and then unfortunately you cannot do the fusion, and all that effort kind of ended up going to waste. Now, in terms of do I think that this fusion is actually worth it? Now, that's also something that my answer to this is going to be a bit different compared to the last few fusions that we have had. So my opinion on this fusion is, if you already have some of the epics, or all of the epics, of course, or you just like to do all the fusions anyway for completion's sake, or, you know, you're a whale, you have a lot of resources, and you know you're going to do it, that's totally fine. However, if you guys are limited on resources and you really don't want to go out of your way for this fusion, and you feel like there's probably better things for you to do right now in Raid Shadow Legends than participate in this fusion, I would say this is the first champion in a while that I would say is probably going to be the best candidate to skip out on. Now, I could turn out to be wrong in the future. People might realize that this guy is really insane at one thing in particular. Maybe they end up buffing him. Maybe there's some hidden mechanics behind him that we don't know about. But as of right now, you know, he's really unique and really cool, but he's an attack-based champion, so he's going to be very squishy, first of all. And if you take a look at his skill kit, I think one of his best features is his attack 1 right here, which has that decreased speed on it, and also has a chance of stealing the turn meter. He's got block cooldowns, and block cooldowns on other enemies. He's got a stun, let's see, 2 turns, steals target's turn meter, and then his crazy RNG passive ability right here, which I talked about quite a bit in the video the other day. So, you know, he's got some interesting skills and he's definitely unique, but I don't think he's going to be too big of a deal if you guys don't end up getting out on getting this champion. Whereas a lot of the other fusions, they've turned out to be important in some aspects of the game. Of course, Tormund was very crazy in the arena for a while. You know, the last champion, Rotos, is very good in certain aspects of the game. This guy, you know, I would say it's honestly okay to skip this one if you guys really don't want to go for it. This is going to be the best one to skip in a while. So that's kind of my opinions and thoughts about that. Now, taking a look at the actual events and tournaments, let's see here. So we've got 2 tournaments going on right now. Of course, we've got the background with the fusion stuff, which means that these events and tournaments are going to have champions that you need for the fusion. So Dragon Tournament has a rare champion that you need right here at 1,500 points. Pretty, you know, I guess average, maybe even slightly below average rewards. No epic books, no legendary books, but you do need this champion for the actual fusion itself. I already took a look and saw that there's no champions in the actual leaderboards. I know they did this for a while, but it seems like they stopped doing this. For a while, they were giving out epic and legendary champions in the actual global leaderboards, but it's been a little while since we've actually seen that now. Let's see, Champion Chase Tournament. There are a couple of legendary books in here and a 5-star chicken, but remember, we do not have a double rates event going on right now, so this Champion Chase actually does not have any champions that you need for the fusion. So this is just kind of a bonus if you do decide to summon right now. But if you guys really are conservative on your resources, you want to get the most efficiency for them, even with this Champion Chase going on right now, still better to save your shards for a ×2 rates event. And then in the actual events page right here, we have the Arena Assault, which I like this one because it's a really easy one to complete. 150 points, 3 days. You guys can see not really anything too crazy on the rewards, just a bit of energy, silver, bruise, but you do get one of the champions that you will need for the fusion. So that's what this Arena Assault is. It's just kind of a little check mark to get the rare for that fusion. But we do have another one of these absolutely crazy, ridiculous champion training events. Looks like we've got 10 days on this one, and it is a 30,000 point champion training. That's an average of about 3,000 points per day if you do decide to max it out. Now, if you decide to go for Corpse Collector just as a standalone epic on her own, you're going to need 20,000 plus points. You get the Ancient Shards and the Legendary Book as a bonus if you decide to get another 10,000 points, but even if you're just looking at these rares, Ogren Jailer, Fortress Groon, and Cudgeler, you do need points for those. But those 3 rares are all under the 10,000 point threshold. So 1,500, 4,625, and 9,450. So, and you do not have to end up getting Corpse Collector as a standalone epic on her own. There is another option to get her by fusing the rares. So if you go to Corpse Collector, so available from the champion training, or you can fuse this for rares. So even though we have a giant champion training event going on right now, you do not have to get 20 or 30,000 points. You could just go for the 9,500 points to get those rares and stop. You know, it's kind of up to you. If you're going to be doing training anyway, that's a whole different story, but you do not need to get Corpse Collector. Unlike the last fusion where we didn't have a separate option, this one they're going back to where now we can either get the rares and then fuse to the epic, or there's an option for some of them to get the standalone epic as well. So we'll also have a chance. Summon Rush probably will be a lot of points that you need for Sue Firstborn. And then Jingle Hunter is going to be available as a standalone epic from the Dungeon Divers event. So I had thrown a lot of info at you guys in the video today, so that's pretty much the daily wrap-up for now. Who knows, maybe in the next couple of days we'll have more information, and I'm sure I'll do a follow-up to Raid Shadow Legends news about this fusion, summoning events, and whatnot coming up, but for now I'm going to end up leaving it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to help out, tossing a quick like means more than you can imagine, and more Raid Shadow Legends videos should be popping up on the screen right about now. Feel free to check them out, but if not, until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.